Good morning, everybody. I mean, good afternoon. Look,
Hello.
We have two primary colors going on over here. You got the red, blue, and the red.
And we didn't even arrange it this morning. Like we didn't.
No, we didn't.
We barely talked to each other. So.
And the timing worked out because I was going to ride my bike today, but then I was about to leave the house. It was raining. And then there you were to pick me up at the subway station, and it all worked out perfectly. We even started the show on time today.
We're just an amazing team. I was there. You know, we're at the station. You leave the station. I'm there to pick you up, just like Cinderella. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. So,
but just before we came on to live, Hugh was about to tell me a story, and then he said, "Okay, I can't tell you this story." So. Well, I don't know what the story is about. No,
just because the show started, we had to get busy with the show. But I can tell you the story now. So like I was saying, it was like when I was a kid, my parents took me and my sister, when we were little kids, to the drive-in theater, right?
Okay.
Did you guys have
big adventure?
Huh? It was for us kids, it was exciting, right? You know.
Yeah.
Because they said, oh, you can wear your pajamas in the car, in the back seat. Watch the movie
That's
in
exciting.
the car, eat popcorn and stuff like that. So, right. So the first movie we went to see was Batman.
Okay.
Which was an incredible.
That was a good one.
Cinematic experience. Okay. But the second time they took us, it was to see this movie called Fiddler on the Roof. And
not exactly Batman.
But you said it was. I guess it's a good movie. I mean, it's a good movie, right?
It's an acquired taste.
It's a big, long movie. It's a big, long movie. Canadian director, too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Did you know that?
I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
I just watched the theater version of it. So
Well, that's the one.
Okay.
You saw it in a play, as a play?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, the movie is Canadian director Norman Jewison. I didn't know that at the time. And anyway, so we go to the drive-in. And it was like, I mean, whatever.
You're expecting Batman.
Hey, we're kids. We want Batman. We get Fiddler on the Roof. When is this thing going to be over?
Your parents must have been so proud.
Anyways.
Money well spent.
Well, but the thing was, I remember very distinctly. So I'm a little kid, like probably 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, they have the previews. The other movies that are coming out, right?
At the beginning.
And so this is back in the 60s. And then, of course, today, the big issue is the whole trans thing, right? Which is how we got started on this topic. So anyways, we're there watching Fiddler on the Roof. Here come the coming attractions or the previews. And I'm watching this preview as an 8-year-old. And I'm going, well, is this what I think it is?
Okay, now I'm getting worried.
Right?
What was it?
Yeah. So what it was, and I'm going, I can't even believe this is a real thing. I can't believe this is a phenomenon. But I was intrigued. It was so
okay.
It
you
never
were paying attention.
Heard of this. Well, I was watching. And what it was a preview for a movie called The Christine Jorgensen Story.
Okay, you lost me there. I don't know.
Okay.
Should I know?
Well, Christine Jorgensen, and I'm an 8-year-old, never heard of anything like this. And and anyway,
totally new.
Christine Jorgensen was the first person to have a sex change operation.
Was she?
Yes.
American or Canadian?
I'm not sure.
Christine Jorgensen.
Yeah,
okay.
Probably American.
And they made a movie about it?
It's a movie, yeah. And this was like in the 60s. And I'm going, as an 8-year-old kid, I'm going, is this what I think this is? Is this a real thing? Because I was thinking, maybe, when you're a kid, and I actually had this thought, I was thinking, because actually as a kid, sometimes like my sister, she was a bit of a tomboy.
Yes.
And me, I was not exactly the most athletic person. I wasn't, I wasn't a real masculine.
Not the typical football player.
Well, I mean, I was fortunate to live in a great neighborhood with great kids, and we played all that stuff, and so, which was great. But if circumstances were different, maybe I would say, I would think maybe start to think about it, right, rather than just go through and do it. And I'm just saying, you put that option in front of kids who are 8 years old.
Yes, it opens up a whole
it opens
series
up
of
a
questions.
possibility that a
Yes.
generation or two ago wasn't available.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm very happy with the way things turned out
Mhm.
for me.
Yes.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? And I think, you know, it could have been you know, I think I think you need to be old enough to make those kind of decisions. If you know
Well,
what I
for
mean.
sure, right? I mean, it's a very, very sensitive subject, and it deserves, discussion. It deserves to be, kids might have questions and they might be confused. So, yeah, I think you have
Especially
to wait
when-
maybe a little bit, right?
Yeah. Just saying.
So
Okay.
that was a story, very interesting.
Yeah.
So now, I will find out a little bit more about this.
Okay. But today's Workplace Wednesday. So we
It
are, what are we doing?
So the first half, we're going to be talking about something, you and me. I have something ready for you.
Okay.
Actually, I'd like to discuss with you about something about the workplace.
Okay.
Actually, we're going to talk about the Great Resignation, which is a huge phenomenon right now, and toxic workplaces. What makes a workplace toxic, and how, and the solutions out there. So this is what we would like to do with this show: give people tips and suggestions, and on how to live their professional life with more satisfaction, and go to work with the lighter spirit and lighter heart. And the second half of the morning, we're going to have Marie Wiese. I'm not sure about how to pronounce her last name yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
She's a digital marketing expert, and she wrote the book You Can't Be Everywhere, which is this one.
See,
A common sense approach to digital marketing for any business. It's a great book.
interesting, because she's saying we can't be everywhere, but we here at that channel, we have a slogan where we want to be everywhere.
We are.
All at once.
But we're above, the law and everyone else. So it doesn't really apply to us. So this is for you watching. You can't be everywhere. It doesn't apply to us, but it's still good advice.
Yeah.
So
that's
this
gonna be
is
good.
coming up in the second half of the show.
Okay.
So
And
yes.
okay, let's come back and we'll get
Let's
into
come
the
back.
toxic workplace conversation. But we
Perfect.
got to do some commercials, so we'll be back right after this, folks. Hope you're having a good day on this Wednesday. We'll be right back after this.
The beach is just the beginning.
And today we are making a decadent and moist chocolate cake with a rich chocolate frosting. Both the cake and the frosting are so easy to make. Now this sounds like a lot of coffee, but you cannot taste the coffee in the finished cake, but it really amplifies the flavor of chocolate. Now pour your wet ingredients into the dry ingredients and whisk just until they come together. Your batter will still be slightly lumpy.
So we're kind of getting out, we're venturing, and right now I'm just all about the food. All you hear about is Rome, food, Italian, wine, meats. So obviously I'm excited about that.
I'm excited to be in Italy. Good food, of course. I mean, I'm Italian, so I better find some good food here. Everyone says Toscano is the place to go when we're in Rome. That's where we're going.
Ellis loves football, and you needed a coordinator that loves football and also knows how to direct. He knows enough, about directing that I think it's a seamless transition between the scenes that he directs on the athletic side and what John and Andy are putting together on the story side. So he's telling an incredible football story. The players that he's chosen are professionals, a lot of them.
A huge hit for you. in 2022, Protocol by Skeng and Tommy Lee Sparta. How did you manage to get these huge names on this track?
Well, I've known Tommy Lee for some years now, prior to my entry into the whole music thing. So, we always spoke about working together. I had some tracks for him that, I didn't get to really release. Where, we were just always waiting on the right time.
You are watching Carrot Vision.
All right. We're back on the show. Actually, we could test it.
Yes, let's
She's
do
there.
that.
We just see Marie joining us here. Hi, Marie.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, we're great. It's working. Everything's working fantastic.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
The
You don't
link
get
is
that too often.
Or do you want to do it now?
So Marie, it's up to you if you want to be with us now or if you want to reconnect at 12:30, 12:25. It's fine for us.
What would you prefer?
Yeah, let's do it now. And then we'll end the show
Let's
with our
do it
stuff.
now. Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
What's that great big M stand for behind you?
I love getting that question. Well, my name's Marie. I run a company called Marketing CoPilot, and I work a lot in the Microsoft channel. So you decide what you'd like it to stand
Oh, see, it could be anything.
It could be anything, right?
It could be even your last name's first letter upside down.
Exactly.
Yes. Welcome on the show. We just actually introduced you just a few minutes ago, and we talked about your book, which we have here. You Can't Be Everywhere.
Thank you.
A common sense approach. This is what I really like about this. Would make me want to read a book. When it says a common sense approach to anything, that would be interesting for me. But then to digital marketing for any business, I think it's, again, a very good title.
Well, let's get into it. Digital marketing, people have to be into it these days, right? A lot of people don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. And digital marketing seems like a moving target, Marie, unless I'm wrong. Can you
No,
maybe...
you're not wrong. You are not wrong. And I have to admit that when I wrote the book, which I did just before the pandemic, I wrote the book for solopreneurs and consultants and people who were perhaps of a certain age who were trying to build a business, and they were struggling with all of these digital tactics that they were getting inundated with. And I don't know if you're like me, but I must get an email at least twice a week from somebody who's going to do SEO for me and optimize my website, or do some Google ads, or then there's all this social media stuff. And everybody was getting frustrated. Do you really need to be on all these channels? Is this all the things you need to be doing online today? And the answer, quite frankly, is no, it isn't. There is a place for you to be, and there's a time for you to be there. So that's why I wrote the book. You can't be everywhere. So pick where your customers are, pick where your best customers are, and figure out how to reach them at their level, not trying to mass blast stuff out to people. And so I wrote that, and then the pandemic hit, and it became more important than ever. And I think more people are getting more and more confused about quote unquote digital marketing, which really comes down to building relationships with people, and you just happen to be doing it online today. So that's really sort of the message I wanted to bring home in the book.
Okay, fantastic. So everybody needs to get the book, obviously, but we're not going to be able to even touch on everything that's in the book today. But
A couple of things, yes.
Well, this is what we're going to just wet people's whistle, but maybe you could just kind of give us a rundown. I mean, for people that are just thinking about this for the first time, I mean, maybe you can just say, well, this is what you got to do. Like, maybe you can boil it down for everybody.
Yes, sure. I think it actually is quite simple. When we, build a business, we do a job. We think about ourselves and our livelihoods and what we do for work. We think of the world in terms of what we do. We don't necessarily, unless maybe we're a healthcare provider, we don't necessarily think of the impact that it has on the people who are buying from us, using our services, interacting with us. And we think of the world, we can't help it. We think of the world through the vision or the glasses of what we do or how we do it. And so really at the end of the day, you have to get in the headset of your best customer. and not all your customers, the customer that you want more of, the customer who makes that perfect person of buying from you, that is profitable, you're able to engage well with them, you're able to offer a great product or service, and you want to think about what matters to them. And so we do this exercise with companies called mapping the buyer journey or building a buyer persona. What is that buyer? What's their, not just their demographics of job title and the kind of company they work at, or whether they have a dog and 2 kids. It's about how they make a purchase decision. So at its simplest, think about what you sell, visualize your ideal customer, who's that perfect person you want to buy from you, and then think about how they make a purchase decision. And when you do that, you'll be able to map exactly the type of marketing tactics and sales support or sales process that you need to find more of that ideal customer.
It's interesting. This is what you just asked is really what I wanted to ask you from the book. This is related to what you're saying. It says, if you simply base your online strategy on a gut feeling, your website is never going to perform the way you want it to. After all, your opinion doesn't matter, but your customers' opinions do. It is about, whether it's a website or, like you said, a sales strategy, it's about the customers. It's not about what you think is right, what you love about your website or the strategy. It's about really reflecting on the buyer.
Yeah, and that comment came from 30 years in the marketing profession, where I get a little sad sometimes because I see marketers that are just, following the latest trends and pushing stuff out there and not really stopping to think about the impact on the customer. I always tell marketing people, particularly when I'm coaching and mentoring young people, and they say, how do I become a really good marketer? And my answer is always, go spend some time in sales. Go spend some time in customer service. That's the only way you're going to be a great marketer, because you understand the sales process and how somebody buys something. And then you understand how a company or an organization delivers a product or service. And I think there's a lot of people out there today who are, I hate to use this word, but they're hawking stuff. They're making you believe that they need it, or their marketing tactics aren't great. And so that always made me sad as a marketing professional. And I've spent most of my career in business to business marketing. And so as I started to wonder, why is there so many bad websites and content on websites, and what is it that is making this not a great experience as a customer? And it's because whoever put it together, whether it was the marketing department or the CEO of the company, based it on their own opinion of what they thought people wanted to know. And I've seen many iterations of the web world. I helped build my first website for a major bank in Canada back in 1995, which is really dating me, but I've seen lots of iterations of websites, and your opinion doesn't matter. It's your customer's explanation or opinion of your value that you should be focusing your communications and your message and your content strategy on.
So I know you want to ask a question.
I know, but
okay,
you go first,
so,
because you had a story this morning. So you can go first, because that story was great.
Okay, so what is the purpose? I'm going to base a question then, but what is the purpose of the website?
So my experienced testing, I will not call myself an expert. I will call myself an experienced tester on this. Your website is everything. It's your receptionist. It's your initial salesperson. It's the opinion that somebody's going to have about whether they want to do business with you, but more importantly, whether they want to shortlist you. Are you going to be on the short list as a solution to their problem? Or did they hit your website, get confused, not understand your value proposition, and immediately leave? So one of the things we like to look at is bounce rate, a very simple metric. And bounce rate can be interpreted so many different ways. But if you are a company that is experiencing a 75% or higher bounce rate, meaning a visitor hits your website and is gone within 5 seconds, if you're experiencing 75% or more bounce rate, you probably have a problem with your content. You probably have a problem with the way you invite people into the process of what they're there to do and why they're there to do it. And we work with a lot of companies who create clutter, confusion. Have you ever hit a website and you hit the services tab on the website and there's a drop-down menu of about 15 things? And especially if you're on a mobile, you can't even scroll down to see it all. You see all this stuff, including 50% of the main navigation is dedicated to the company, about us, learn about what we've done, and not here's how we're going to help you, or here's what you need to know to make an educated decision to shortlist us. And I work with a lot of tech companies, and there's nobody that does this in a worse way than tech companies. And I used to call it, excuse my graphic vision here, but I used to call it barfing on the home page. They just throw up all the products and services and everything they do on the home page and leave it for the potential buyer to figure out. And we're all busy people. We don't want to sit there and spend 20 minutes on a website just trying to understand, can you actually help me? Nobody wants to do that. So I think that's where the idea of simplifying, understanding it for your buyer, and just years and years of working on this. And that's sort of where a lot of the subjects and topics in the book came from.
I wanted to ask you about the website. What Hugh just said, okay, so you can't be everywhere. That's the title of your book. Judging by what you're saying about a website, we could also say you can't have everything on your website, on your homepage, right?
I often thought the follow-up book was going to be you can't have it all.
You can have it all. You can't have everything on the homepage because people are going to get confused. So in your experience and in your opinion, what is something, for instance, lately I've been reading that having a blog on your website might not work because then either you update it regularly or it doesn't really matter. Like newsletters, not so much.
And because people hear stuff. People hear, oh, I got to have a blog. Oh, you got to be putting out content, whatever, 5 times a day or whatever it is.
So what do you think is the one thing or the two things that people have on their websites that are either obsolete now, they're just unnecessary, they're just fluff that is not really necessary, and people maybe are obsessing over these things. But in your opinion, what are those things we can do without on our websites?
Well, I'm going to say one thing that's going to be a little controversial, but I'm sure you've hit a lot of websites and you've seen social media icons.
We'd like controversy.
So think about in your own personal buying habits. How often, when you go to somebody's website, do you click on the social media icons and decide to follow them as a company or do something with the social media icons? And oftentimes I see those in the top right-hand corner of the website, which is your most important real estate. We have a little parlor game we like to play with people. And if you look at the home page, from eye tracking studies, we know that people go to the top left corner, top right corner, and then dead center of the page. Top right, they expect, top left, they expect to answer the question, where am I? So whose site is this? Top right, what can I do here? That's where they want to see a key conversion point. And dead center, why would I do it? Where's your value proposition? So a lot of times, if you go to a website, look in the top right corner and see what's there. A lot of times people put the search bar there. And if you're a company that has a ton of products and services, that make sense. But if you're not, I don't know what I'm searching for yet. A lot of times I see social media icons up there. That's the last thing I'm going to do is follow you on social media. I don't even know who you are yet. And even if I do know who you are, my social media following is very select. You have to earn the right to have me follow you on social media. So that's one thing I'm seeing. Another thing I'm seeing is overuse of the button learn more. When marketers run out of good content, they always put the learn more, or they put a little snippet and hope that somebody will learn more. That is not a very powerful call to action. What you're telling me when you ask me to learn more is that I'm going to have to spend more time reading through something to actually figure out what the heck it is. So I think those are things that people overuse. When it comes to blogs, I think relevant content based on your buyer's buying process that is written up in those blogs is fantastic. But you're absolutely right. I've analyzed a lot of websites. One company in particular, I went through their blogs, and they had all these blogs posted about their company picnic. And I said to them, why do you have those there? Well, I want people to know what kind of company we are. And I said, do you think you're really describing how good you are to do business with because you had a company picnic? Their blog was just full of useless content that had no bearing on what the buyer needed to know. And I always say, if you're going to have a blog, the top 10 blog posts on your blog should be the top 10 questions that get answered in the sales process. What are the top 10 questions that a prospective customer has about your products or services? That should be your top 10 blog posts. And I know it seems nice to post about a company picnic, but it adds no value to the buyer journey or the buyer decision making. So I think those are things we can start to eliminate.
Yeah, it seems like
So interesting.
Yeah. Is it useful to think about your overall sales process? I mean, you mentioned, like your buyer's journey, right? Your customer's journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So if you think about the overall sales process, which is kind of, you would think the best, well, I guess that kind of, it's like a chicken or egg thing to envision the buyer's process along with your sales process. I mean, they have to totally integrate. And you can't really say which comes first. They kind of come together.
Well, they do come together. And I'm going to use another example of a client I worked with. They were having a terrible time with their website. It wasn't performing the way they wanted it to. And so we sat down and mapped not just the buyer, we mapped the entire buyer journey. How do people become aware of their problem? What information they need to do to consider things? When they actually reach out to somebody, what's the point in which they're reaching out and engaging? What do they expect to happen? And then from there, you hopefully will take that sales to its conclusion. This kind of company was manufacturing really, really high-end storage space and retail presentation equipment for large manufacturers. And some of it was in warehousing, and they were able to consult with companies to figure out how they could maximize their space. And of course, now, again, the world we've lived through, big retailers, as an example, you can pick up at store. There's curbside pickup. So they have to store a lot of stuff now that they didn't before. You get your shipment on Wednesday and that'd be it. And so redesigning that space was really important. As we worked through how people buy things and what they do to trigger that initial, okay, I'm ready to talk to you, even though their solutions were highly customized, offering some kind of product configurator of what their options might be and what type of solution they're looking for, we made sure that everybody, instead of contact us or contact sales, went through the product configurator, so that when the information hit the sales desk, that person had roughly an idea. And it wasn't onerous on the buyer to do that on the website, because it was helping them understand what some of their options were. And then when they hit submit on the configurator, they knew they were going to get a customized report back with somebody they could talk to. And so by going through the sales process and then also understanding the customer journey, we were able to map that to the website to figure out what they needed to do to capture interest.
Mm-hmm. This is so interesting, and I have like 1,000 questions, but this is the first one that comes to mind now. Like you said, your website is everything. So it means to me, at least if I understand this correctly, like take care of your website, make it make sense for your business. What about social media platforms? Because there's a whole discussion on those as well. Are they worth it? Are they not worth it? Of course, it depends on the industry that you're in. I get it. But in general, what do you think about those? Of course, you already said you can't be everywhere. So we get the message that you shouldn't be everywhere. But do they work?
And should we all open a TikTok account?
Oh,
no, we shouldn't. Because, again, it comes back to, and I want to say one thing. Your website is everything, but it shouldn't be everything. Like your website is really important to starting that, but that doesn't mean you cast the widest net and put as much up there as possible. So sure. I think that's a good, descriptor that it should be everything, but it can't be everything. With respect to social media, I love this topic because, quite frankly, I'm someone who doesn't like social media. And I'm sort of that old curmudgeon-y type that didn't grow up with it. And so I've really studied it as it's evolved. And I had a very large insurance company that I did a project for, and they were asking me to evaluate the customer experience when somebody was buying one of their products online. And as soon as I hit that get a quote page, there was a big Facebook icon, and it said, follow us on Facebook. And I asked the question, why is this here? Oh, well, we were told we needed to have social media presence.
Yeah.
I said, well, it's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's totally irrelevant and quite frankly distracting to what I'm here to do on this page. Get rid of this. So that's what got me thinking. And, I think I even used that example in the book. It got me thinking that we really need to understand where our customers are, where our best customers are. And my opinion is, if there's one thing that they're doing or using or looking at, we need to double down on that and not try to do everything else. But we also need to understand, if in the buyer journey, for example, somebody wants to go look at product reviews and they're going to do a search on product reviews, not necessarily just what was customer feedback on a website, because we all know we have a tendency to put up the good and not necessarily the bad.
Yes.
If I go look at a page that's reviewing products that seems to be a standalone site that is not based on the brand's website, that's where I'm going to go look for product reviews, or I'm going to use other tools depending on the product and service. So you need to be there. If in the business to business world, I always tell people there is zero reason to have a Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok account for your company.
Can't have
it's not where buyers are going to be looking for you. Double down on LinkedIn and do a really good job there.
Yes.
Don't try to follow the trends. Follow your customer.
That's follow the customer. That you have to know where they are. And we also talked about, when Marie, you and I met, had a little talk before the show, and you mentioned pricing. That's also a very sensitive subject. And so many people are doing what you think is not correct, which is not giving the pricing right away. They keep it as a last information. Sometimes it's not even on the website. And you seem to think that it's not a very good practice. Can you tell us more about that?
If you think about the psychology of human beings, when we're going to look for a solution to a problem, there's 4 questions we ask. The very first one when we go to look at an option is, what is this? The second thing we ask is, how does it apply to me? The third thing we ask is, what would I have to do to buy it? And the fourth thing we ask is, can I afford it? And that pretty much applies to whether it's personal or for business. It applies to anything. So I just tell people, do a test on your current website and go through and ask yourself, is it answering all 4 of these questions? And the clients we work with do a pretty good job. Could be better, but a pretty good job of the first 2 and a terrible job of the last 2. They don't describe the process for buying the product or service. What's it going to be like after I become a customer? And then they don't talk about pricing because, well, we have to customize solutions, or it could be this, or it could be that. And so I say to people, even if you sell a high ticket item that is highly customized, you need to give examples and show people ranges. Because I guarantee if you do that, you will get more interaction from a prospective buyer than if you don't. I work with a lot of tech companies whose solutions can be very expensive. And I say, if you don't even explain what it's going to cost to do step 1 of the process, and maybe that's an opportunity to package that and show people how step 1 is a very specific package and you can buy in at $5,000. Or, I've worked with another company who's, again, a tech company, but they've figured out a way to make implementation of software a subscription service. So we're going to take 12 months to do it. Here's our process to doing it. And here's what you'll pay every month. So it's very easy for you to buy in at this level. And I think those are the kinds of things you have to get really creative about. The buyer is going to want to know, can I afford it? So tell them that on your website.
How much is it, right?
Okay, so we're running out of time. That's the book. We're not going to be able to ask you everything we want to ask you, but I do have one more question before we tell people where they can get the book, Marie. And that is, what about email marketing?
Oh, that's a show unto itself.
I thought it might.
Started on email marketing.
We have 30 seconds.
Email marketing is one of the most powerful forms of marketing. And you should do it, but do it right. That's my closing comment. Email marketing is fantastic.
So
but
she
do it
left us
correctly.
wanting more.
Yeah, we want more.
We want
Yeah.
more.
Leave them wanting more. That's the other thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's it. Are we out of time already?
well,
Oh, good.
we could be a little flexible because of
Yes.
what the kind of day that it is.
I think, yes.
So go ahead.
Yes. And may I ask, what does do it right mean in a few words? Because
Okay.
super interesting.
Email marketing has had a really interesting evolution over the last few years. And it usually was about somebody building a list and then just, I'm not going to use the word spamming, but just throwing content at that list. And what we've really uncovered as we've worked with lots of companies to try to really create a better email marketing strategy for them is it often comes down to data. And I know that's the world we live in these days, is that it's all about data. And a lot of companies don't have good data and they're not capturing really good information about their customers in their customer relationship management system, their CRM, their whatever they happen to be using to do that. And so what I always encourage people to do is do a real quick dump of information to see what fields and attributes you've captured around your customers or around your prospects. And then use that to segment how you would set up content to send them. And can you then bring that into an email marketing platform that allows you to really personalize and segment your information? I'm sure you've had this experience happen to you that you've been buying from a company for a long time and suddenly you get an email that says offer for new customers. And it ticks you off for two reasons. One, they didn't know I was an existing customer. And two, how come the new customers get all the deals? Why not the existing customer? Telcos are terrible at doing this. New cell phone plans for new customers, but the old customers got to keep paying more money. So don't do that. Email marketing is an incredibly powerful, and not everybody uses their email daily, by the minute. Get a really good strategy, but really make sure the data you're putting in is segmented based on existing customers, past customer, who's bought, who's not bought, even people who don't like you. Make sure you segment that and personalize your content, and you will have a winning strategy.
It's interesting, the email marketing. And what about the freebie? So many people talk about this. Okay, send an email and make sure that they can download something so they will get something in return. I don't know, download a guide. I see that sometimes, like a basic guide to something or some kind of gift.
A freebie.
A freebie. Does that work? Is it a good strategy?
So we call that the offer. And the offer has to match the velocity of your value proposition. And what I mean by that is, how powerful is your value proposition and your value that you're offering somebody that they would want to give up an email address to get something? Because that's essentially what's happening. You're asking someone to buy their email address based on the offer you're providing. What I always explain to companies is it's so much better to give before you get. And when I say give, a lot of consumers and people can see through the fake offer that they're just looking for your email address. But if you really understand your best buyer and you've created content that really speaks to them, then when you make that offer, it should be very powerful. Again, I'll use another example. We worked with a lot of software as a service companies, and they think just giving a free trial is the way to go. But the level of effort that it takes somebody to sign up for the free trial, start using the product to see if they like it, start seeing whether it meets their needs, is way too high. And one company, they were getting people subscribing for free trials on 1,000 people a month would subscribe for the free trial, and none of it would convert to sales because they didn't bring them through a process to get them to understand the value of the product, how they were going to use it going forward. And so I think offers are a good thing to be able to get somebody to get to know you, but just make sure that offer is aligned with what the buyer needs and the velocity of your value proposition. Because if it's out of alignment, it won't serve its purpose and it won't help that prospect.
Excellent advice. And, Marie's company is called Marketing CoPilot. At marketingcopilot.com is the website. And I think the name itself really represents what you just said. Your marketing provider is your co-pilot. You are the one who knows your business. You are the one who knows your customers. You can't just tell a marketing agency or company, do everything for me, because they're just going to put up there whatever they think is trendy, whatever they think is, in trend right now, and they won't really help you. So somebody like Marie says, I'm a co-pilot. I'm there with you, but you have to tell us what you need. So can I ask the last question? How do we stay away, and how do you recognize the, let's say, wrong marketing company for you? Are there red flags that you should pay attention to?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, back to that, why your opinion doesn't matter. If you get a sense from a marketing company or marketing provider that they don't have a framework for how they're going to build the plan and identify your best customer and create the absolute right thing to help you from a marketing, if it's just, well, we sit and talk to you to learn your products and services, then we go away and make it up. They're not going to be good.
That's not very promising.
They're not going to be good. And the other thing you need to start with are very specific strategy and business goals. So if they aren't asking you what your business goals are for the year, whether you're looking to double your revenue generation or grow in a new market segment, or get a go-to-market strategy going for your business, if they're not asking you those questions to be clear then on how your marketing needs to map back to revenue generation, then they're not the right company for you either. If all they want to go in and optimize your website or make your website look prettier, but they have no process around how to understand the buyer journey and apply it to the web, then they're not the right provider. Your marketing strategy needs to be aligned. What's the expression? Hook, line, and sinker. It needs to be aligned with your sales strategy and your sales goals. And if it's not, if you can't prove how a marketing tactic is going to contribute to generating a marketing qualified lead or a sales qualified lead, and to show the continuum from I found this person right through to a closed sale, if they can't do that, they're not going to be able to help you build your business.
There needs to be structure. There needs to be a plan. And remember, Hugh, there was a song in the 90s by Guns N' Roses called Welcome to the Jungle.
Yes, I do remember that song.
I think this could be welcome to the digital jungle. That's where we are right now. It's a jungle out there, and you need good people. You need professionals to help you out, because anybody can say, oh, I'm going to make, like Marie said, we are going to make your website really pretty, but it won't be useful. You won't be able to have any sales. So that's why we need professionals like her.
Just one last question. So we have your website, Marie, running across the bottom, and we have the page on your site where people can order your book. But we did say it was a moving target. So this book is, it's not a changing document. So how are you going to handle the fact that it is a moving target? Are you going to be doing a blog or updates or?
Yes, we have a lot of new guides, and we have a whole new member site area coming out where you can subscribe to it and get all of the workbooks and material to help you with each of the areas in the book that we talk about. Mm-hmm. And while I appreciate the digital world is ever changing, like every week there's something to look for. Again, if we come back to the common sense approach, whether it was 20 years ago or it's 20 years from now, understanding your buyer and what they care about is never going to go out of style. And then whatever tactics you want to apply to them, whether they're digital, offline, sponsoring a little league club because your buyers show up there. At the end of the day, you need to really get to know your customers and get to know who might be buying from you. And once you do that, any tactic you apply is going to work because you have such a good understanding of what they care about and that emotional trigger you can bring them to. So we talk about this topic a lot, but we are building a new area on our website where you can subscribe to it and get all the workbooks that go with it so that you can figure out how to build this for your own business.
Okay, fantastic.
Amazing conversation, Marie. That was super interesting.
And again, there's the book.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. On the website, marketingcopilot.com. Marie, so much food for thought. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really, really appreciate it. We need more people like you doing good stuff for business owners. So thank you.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure to have you.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's take a little break.
Ciao, Marie. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, Marie.
Okay.
Take care. Ciao.
Okay. And we're going to just take a little break and come back with our little conversation.
I'm going to grill you.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. Okay, we'll be right back.
It's about that time. It's 2022 and the return of the St. Kitts Music Festival will be the best one.
What's up? This is Reilly. You know I'm sick of this.
You know it's me. Lucas H. And they will be joining Bungie and Faya, Nadia Batson, Voice, Lyrical, Grandmaster, Small X Man, New Vibes International, Maxi Priest, Santi B, Shaniel Murr, Aymar, Highlight, Visual, Beres Hammond, Christopher Martin, Vinal Power, Jada Kingdom, Ashanti, Byron Messiah, and Routine. Join thousands of music fans from Thursday, June 23rd to Saturday, June 25th for this year's St. Kitts Music Festival. Get your tickets at www.stkitsmusicfestival.com. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
There's a really interesting story about the color of this car.
Okay, yeah. This ends up a one-of-one. Jaguar, F-Type, SVR. British Racing Green. It's a custom color. It wasn't offered in 2018. In fact, I had talked to Jaguar for 2 years.
Yum. So what you want to let your cassava drain really well because your mixture is going to be too sappy or wet. You don't want that. You want it to drain properly. So leave it for a while on your strainer like you're doing here now. So we're going to pump our garlic and so on our mortar, saffron, and garlic, the brown pepper.
Hi, boys and girls. So happy to see you. Remember, this is your show. So come along and join me. All you need to do is make a little flour, and your parents can help you with that. And then you just cut it out. He took a deep breath, puffed out his chest, and he said, quack. Application denied, said Lion.
So let's talk about this movie. Mecca.
Yes.
Is it going?
Yes.
Is it going? Yeah, we have Mecca. We have Luna. And we have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go with the character name. Ram.
We have Luna. We have producer, director, so many hats. I don't know where to stop. And then we have Nefertiti, played by Gigi. That's Neffy.
You were watching Carrot Vision.
Now we're back.
Now I know. You said you saw Batman. Now I know. Now I know what it had an impact on you.
Well, the other thing that did have an impact.
Yes.
Okay, there was this like a kid's story that I think my grandmother and parents used to read. It was called I think the character in it was named Hector Heathcote, and he was a Minuteman. You know what the Minuteman is?
No, what is that?
Okay, so this is in the U.S.
Okay.
Revolutionary War. Okay, they'd go. You know the story of what's his name, Paul Revere, right? The British are coming.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yes.
And then he'd have to get on his horse and go. He was a Minuteman. And the thing is that the whole thing was they had to be ready in a minute to get on their horse and go tell everybody that the British were coming.
Wow.
And get everybody ready to, fight the battle. So they had to be ready to go from being in their bed to being on their horse.
Just
in
like
a minute,
that.
In a minute. So,
wow.
If the word came, they would be on their horse within 1 minute to tell everybody about the trouble that was coming.
Wow.
So I remember that story. I think that had a big impact on me.
And you're also Minuteman, like getting ready in a matter of minutes.
Last minute usually.
Yes, which works out fine because we're all spontaneous here at that channel.
Well,
and that was great. We had an amazing guest, Marie. So she talked about marketing. And now for the last 10 minutes, we would like to talk about toxic workplaces. We've been hearing about the Great Resignation and why people leave the workplace. And just yesterday, I read this quote that said, people don't leave their jobs, they leave a toxic workplace culture. So that to me is really interesting because if you think about it, people like the number one fear.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is? Number one fear that humans have. The one thing.
Speaking in public.
That's top. What's the other one that nobody wants it? It's change.
Death.
Okay. Well,
right?
That goes without saying.
That's that joke that Jerry Seinfeld says about that. He says, people would rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy.
Okay. You see? That's how bad speaking in public is. Well, that's true. But change, everybody loves the comfort zone. So for so many people to change their jobs, it means something is going on. Because if having the choice would be to stay in a job would be better, right? People don't want to change, they want to move.
Yeah, people want to minimize their.
So I was investigating these toxic workplace signs. So what makes, and then
you got a list?
I got a list, and I would like to know from you as well, your experience. So one of the first signs that you are in a toxic work culture, going to work feels like a task.
Right. That makes sense.
It's like you're not eager to go to work.
No, you want to feel good about that, whatever you're doing. You don't want to feel, I got to go to work now. You don't want to feel like that.
Yes. And I'm sure you don't feel like that when you come to that channel. You don't.
Well, there have been days.
But then, if it's 100% and then it's.
Well, when that continues every day and every day and every day, and it's got to do with your workplace, not with something else, then yes, that's a toxic workplace.
So it's a sign for you to pay attention to. So how does it feel when you wake up in the morning? I'm not saying that every day you should say, oh, I love going to work. We know, you don't want to wake up very early, but if every day feels like a burden, then you might not be, in the right job for you. Another sign is constant fear of failure. So, when people are they panic because they know that there's no room for mistakes. That mistakes will be frowned upon, that there will be a lot of guilt thrown around. And that's not good as a culture, right? We're not perfect. We're bound to make mistakes and take calculated risks, that too. So again, this is a sign. If you're feeling like that, you're petrified. You go to work and you're thinking, wow, I can't do this. I can't do that. That's not a very good sign.
No.
Also, because I think we improve by making mistakes. Actually, that's the only way.
So you need to have a workplace culture that allows you to make mistakes and learn from them. Yeah.
And I think, yes, exactly. You can have, I always have a problem with the word positive workplace. Positive, I don't like it because when you say there has to be a positive workplace culture, people think, oh, it means that my boss every day will tell me how great I am. No, sometimes negative feedback is the best thing that could happen to you. So don't confuse like a positive workplace for a workplace where everybody reminds you, of how good you are. There's always praise, because if you expect that, it's not really going to happen. And I think maybe that's why so many people leave their job.
Can I say something before? I don't know if we're going to get through this list. We got about 5 minutes left, but one of the things that I just want to go back to the idea of the Great Resignation that we're that you're saying that we are, I guess, in the middle of, or maybe at the end of, maybe at the beginning of. And I know of quite a few people that did resign since the pandemic, right? And a lot of it, a lot of this is teachers, right? Who all of a sudden they're going from a classroom environment where they're in front of the kids and able to actually have a personal interaction with the kids to just this online education. And I'm just hearing nothing but horror stories from parents, from kids, and from teachers. A lot of teachers have to resign. They just don't want to be, it's not really a learning environment. And frankly, so I think that some of the, just some of the policy decisions that have been enacted to deal with the pandemic have created a lot of toxic workplaces, and I think that's a big part of the problem.
It is, because then if you take away the human contact from teaching, for example, or from coaching, or
from
doing
anything, that's human nature. We need that person.
What is left?
Yeah.
It's just, you know, the skeleton of the job that you used to have. But it's just like when we talked about, remember, the commute, people being so happy because they didn't have to commute, because, you know, the lockdown took that away. And it's a
that's
temptation.
a pro.
Yeah, but you know,
Could be a
if you
con.
commute, you can meet people on the train. You can meet people on the way to your breakfast downtown.
Or you can listen to your podcasts while you're
Exactly.
in the car or on the transit. Yeah.
So we can't get to the idea where everything that takes a little bit of effort is bad, and that everything that allows us to stay on our couch all day is good. I think that's very, very
Yeah, I don't
dangerous.
think that's so.
Nothing good ever came from people who were sitting on their couches all day. Because I'm being very refined, I would have said another word, but did you notice I didn't say sitting on their couches?
Oh, I see.
But it's true, like this message, oh my God, if I can stay home, it's good. Well, whoever did something really, really good by not doing anything all day.
Well, if you can be productive, maybe if you could be productive on your couch, which we will be able to in the future with Meta, right?
Oh, you're right.
We will be able to just be on our couch all day, be super productive.
You see? But until then, I'm just saying, you know, you're right. I mean, but let's not rule everything out. Everything that requires us to make a little bit of an effort to wake up early. I mean, I would be a little bit cautious into just throwing everything away. Just think about it.
Well, this is, you know, I think the point here is that, you know, to what extent are we going to let someone else, like in this case, the government say, but this could apply in any situation, make policy decisions that are going to make our environments, whether it's our work environment or our own environment, toxic? Are we going to allow that? Are we going to allow other people to toxify the places we spend our time and energy? So
exactly. It's also
I think it's important that I mean, if we're running a company, let's create a culture within our company that's going to be good for the company in terms of meeting its objectives, but also in terms of meeting the individuals who are the stakeholders in making that happen. Right? So how do we do that is the big question.
Being able to, like you just said, say what's on your mind. And remember with Pierre, another one of our guests, we talked about psychological safety, going to work and saying,
that's a big part of, you know, an effective work culture, I think.
Don't shut down people who have a different opinion. Just accept that, you know, some people love working from home and some people just don't. And it has to be a situation where everybody feels, you know, free or at least safe to say what's on their mind.
Yeah. And the company loses out if they don't have that, because a great idea may not get expressed because the person with that idea doesn't feel safe.
Exactly.
Okay, we're just about out of time.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yes, that's exactly it. So creating a workplace culture that works is what, you know, I deal with together with my partner, Brian Epstein. We're workplace culture specialists. And so it's interesting to talk about these things and also for solutions.
And this is Wednesday. So we'll be back here next Wednesday with more voices from the workplace. And I hope you're all benefiting from these conversations, people, wherever you happen to be, that you can apply some of these ideas for your business or your workplace. And we'll also be back tomorrow for more on Care Vision TV and ThatChannel.com. This is 600 Club. See you then. Have a great time.
Bye.